Hi guys, it's Danny. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am back with another 12 by 12 layout for you guys. This one is for the Scrap the Boys May Challenge. I am the guest designer for Scrap the Boys this month, which is very exciting. So the prompt for this month, as you saw, was mother, and this month we're including photos of ourselves with our boys, which is just wonderful, just in time for Mother's Day. So I've got a few photos here. I'm not sure which I'm going to use yet, but I know I want to use these papers and I've got a pretty good idea of what I want to do. So these papers are from the Kaisercraft Peekaboo Boys collection, and I'm using this beautiful blue wood grain, and I'm just slicing that up into the individual sort of planks, and I'm going to overlay them on that background. You can see there the white one with the sort of quatrefoil pattern in the light blue there. So I'm just taking my little fussy cutting scissors and I am distressing all the edges of those wooden planks. So I'm giving them a pretty good distress. I'm not being particularly gentle. I really want a lot of texture on these. I want them to really stand out off the background. So I'm going around 3 edges because that top edge isn't going to be seen. I'm going to trim that off. And I'm going to stagger these out sort of randomly so that the bottom edges are all uneven. So I'm just finding my middle, and then I'm just going to use some double-sided tape. I'm placing it a little close to, quite close to the edge, but not right up against the edge, because I do want to distress those or ruffle up those edges a little more after I put them onto the background paper. Having a little trouble getting that backing tape off. Now I want to get this center one as centered as I possibly can, so I am pulling out my square, and I realize midway through doing this part that I don't actually need that ruler because the pattern on the background is very geometric, so I can just line it up with that, but I have the ruler out, so it's always good to double check. If that first one goes on wonky, they will all be wonky, so it's always good to make sure. So now you can see I'm just using my fingernails and going around and really distressing and ruffling up those edges and making sure they stand out nicely. Just using my fingernails to sort of get under the edge and pull them up. So I really want them to look like planks of wood. So there you go, I've gone ahead and done them all, and as you can see I've left a bit of a gap in between each of them so they are even more dimensional. And I've gone in with my silhouette and I've cut out a bunch of little white branches, sort of leafy branches, and I've laid them out roughly where I want them to go on my page, and they're just white cardstock that I've used for those. And now I'm working on my photo, so I'm just trimming off some of the excess, and I'm going to use some of this white tissue paper to make a couple of soft layers behind my photo. And I'm just using some ATG tape there on my photo. I actually got a bunch of tissue paper from my friend. She had a baby shower and she got a ton of pink and white tissue paper, which was really awesome for me. She was just going to throw it out, so of course I snatched it up. So I haven't glued down any of those branches yet. I've just laid them out on the page where I think they will end up. And this is another page from the same Kaisercraft collection. It's the cut apart sheet, so I'm just going to use some of these cut apart pieces to start backing my photo. Having a bit of trouble with my ATG there. It doesn't like tissue paper, so it tears it a little bit, but I don't really care. It's at the back, we can't see, so who cares? It's the best, well, I find it's the best tape anyway. It's really sticky, doesn't go anywhere, so I like to use that. Okay, so that's my first layer. Now this is the Twig and Twine paper pack. This is by Rosie Studio if you're looking for it. In Australia it's rebranded as the Craft Stall and sold at the Reject Shop. So you can have a look there, or you can find them online at Rosie Studio. And I'm just going to trim that. This paper I'm using is it's kind of craft, but it's more on the beige side, and it has a rose gold foiled little polka dots all over. It's so pretty. I just love that little splash of rose gold foiling. And I'm going to bring in a few little rose gold foiled embellishments too, so it will all tie in nicely. I'm just taking this other little cut apart piece. I'm just adding a few messy layers, so I'm just cutting it into sort of corner edges, I guess. And I'm going to layer those either side of my photo. Not being precise with this, I'm just trying to get some of the blue colours and some of those sort of beigey tones. I want this to be really, it's almost monochromatic. There's a lot of soft blue and white, but I do bring in just sort of a touch of beige, and as you'll see a little bit later, a bit of a sort of darker peach colour. And some wood grain too, so I guess not so monochromatic. So there we go. Same paper pad. This is just a really nice sort of craft wood grain colour background with little white florals all over it. And I thought those florals just match those white branches that I'm using perfectly. I'm doing a bit of a slightly larger photo mat with this paper because it's just so pretty. I love it. And I've just torn off the bottom edge just to make it sort of soft and pretty. So that I'm putting that little scrap piece there over the top of my photo because my lights are really glaring off the photo, so I'm just trying to minimize that as best I can. That together piece is from another Rosie Studio ephemera pack. That one you can see there. It's rose gold foil. It's really pretty, and I put that little is the best place banner die cut underneath, and I will end up trimming that, as you'll see later, but that does end up being my title. Now I'm going through this ephemera pack and I'm pulling out, I'm trying to use that sort of darker blue, but I feel like it's just a little bit too cool toned and it doesn't really go. So that does end up coming off pretty quickly. But you can see that Memories die cut I've pulled out. I do like that sort of peachy colour, so I'm going to bring in a few more of those. I actually get rid of that one, but I bring in a few other pieces. I've got that Free Hugs tag. I'm going to keep that. That sort of peach and rose gold heart that will make it onto the page. This love you something, I can't read the bottom, but that love circle does make it on, and that large white moth does make it on as well. I really like those branches, but I just couldn't make it work. It ended up being too busy, so I just got rid of it. So now I'm trimming down that love piece just to make it it was a little bit big, but I really liked it, so I just used my punch to make it a little bit smaller. I fuss with these tags so much, guys. Like, I cut most of it out. You don't even see probably 3/4 of it I've cut out, but I fuss with them so much. I just could not figure out where to place them, but I get there in the end. So this moth I love, but I don't love that white sort of border on it, so I'm just going through and fussy cutting that off. Love that so much better. And now I know I'm going to do some mixed media, not a lot, just some splatters, so I'm taking everything off. I'm going to take some white acrylic paint and water that down a little, and I'm just going to go through and splatter that all over the wooden part of the background. I do apologise too, guys. I have a cold. If you can hear me sort of sniffling, or if my voice sounds really croaky, I actually have bronchitis. I had a cold. It's been a couple of weeks now. I just went to the doctor and I had bronchitis, so yeah, if I sound horrible, that's why. So there we go, my white splatters, and now I have my Heidi Swap Colour Shine in Coral, and I'm just going around and doing a bunch of little splatters with that. Just brings in some more of that really pretty peach colour, and it's really shimmery, this one too, very pretty. Okay, I'm just going to cut off some thin strips of adhesive foam and back that die cut together with that, just to help it pop off the page a little bit. And there you can see I've trimmed that banner. I've just sort of trimmed the sort of ribbony ends off the end, if that makes sense. It just didn't tuck underneath that together right until I did that, and I'm happy I did that. Okay, so I'm going to just build up my little bits of ephemera again. So this is where the tags end up going on the side here. I really like them there. Just having a bit of trouble. As you can see, I mess with them a lot, and this is not even half of it. Okay, and this love piece, I mess with that a lot as well. You'll see it moves around the page quite a bit. But where it ends up is where I'm glad it went there. It's where it looks the best. Not there, by the way, it moves again. So now I'm just going through with those leaves, and I'm going to get ready to start gluing these down. So I'm laying them out where I want them to stay, and I do want that one to sort of start overlapping my photo cluster there. So what I'm going to do is take my tacky glue, and I'm just going to glue down the very sort of ends of the stems. I'm not gluing down any of the leaves, I'm just going down sort of I'd say the end third of the stem part, and I'm sort of overlapping the branch pieces so they look like, I don't know, a really full leafy branch. And I don't want to glue down the ends because I want them to be nice and fluffy and sort of dimensional. And I do go in off camera too and put some adhesive foam underneath some of the ends of the leaves to make them pop up. So that's where that love die cut ends up. And that moth, I really like it, just sort of taking up some of that empty space in the photo. And I'm just going to pop that little heart up on some foam. Ends up around there, I think. Okay. I wanted to bring in some more wood grain because I have that wood grain paper in the back of my photo mat there. So I'm just taking some of these little wood veneer pieces, and these are from Kaiser Craft, a couple of different collections. And I'm just taking a couple of the different branch shapes, and I'm going to sort of sprinkle them in. And I'm just tucking them underneath the leaves there so they look kind of natural and like they're meant to be there. And I'm trying not to go too overboard because I really like how, I don't know, simple this layout is, I guess. There's not a whole lot going on. It's not super busy. It's really quite soft and delicate, and I like that. So I end up pulling most of those. I put way too many on, and I end up pulling quite a few of them off. And I just end up with, I think, 2 different types of leaves. I've cut most of it out, but I put on, I think, 3 or 4 different styles of leaf branch wood veneer piece, and I put in a lot, like far too many, and it was just really overwhelming the page. So I only end up with, I think, 5, these 5 that you can see here. And yeah, I'm just tucking them underneath those cardstock leaves, losing my train of thought, tucking them underneath just so they kind of don't overwhelm the softness of those leaves, if that makes sense, because they are chipboard, so they're kind of hard, and I didn't want them to look harsh on the layout. I hope I'm making sense. But they also help pop up those leaves a little bit more too, so they look really fluffy and full. So I'm just trimming off my branding strip, and then I'm going around and trimming off all the little extra bits that are hanging off the sides. There we go, and then a little bit more hardy shine. So I'm just going back in with the coral. I just thought those leaves were looking a little bit plain, so I'm just going to do some splatters all over the top of the leaves and a little bit more on the background. That colour dries really pale, so it was quite hard to see. And then I pull in some of these enamel dots, and this just makes the layout. I really, really love these pretty peach enamel dots. I only use a few, but it really just brings it all together. I'm also going to bring in some of these little half pearls, and I'm using a sort of champagne colour, and they needed a bit of glue because the adhesive wasn't very good, but it's just so pretty. I love it. Off camera, I also went in with a little bit of adhesive foam behind the moth wings to pop them up, and I popped in a little strip with the date underneath my title, which you will see in the close-ups. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. Don't forget to check out Scrap the Boys. I'll leave the link to the challenge in the description box, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.